Hello, my name is Professor John Benjamin, and this is Motion Graphics at West Virginia Wesleyan College. And today we're going to be talking about tracking. And so tracking is a simple procedure that helps us to add special effects to video footage where the camera's moving. So if it's a dolly or if it's a truck, we find a track point, establish a track point, and then that special effects will follow naturally with that camera movement. And there's 4 ways that we're going to do this today. All right, let's begin. So if you open After Effects and create a new composition, and we're going to call this first comp track mask. And I provided for you several videos to use for this tutorial. You can download them and then drag them into your project file. Okay, so for the very first tutorial, the track mask, we're going to use this phones video. So you can drag that onto your stage and then right click and select transform and fit to comp. And that's a 2K video and we're working in 1920 by 1080. So what we want to do is, in this case, let's say this is a journalistic piece. And this fellow here has asked us to not reveal him on the news. So he wants his face blurred out. And so we've made that agreement, and so we'll go ahead and do that. And we'll do it using a track mask. So I want to blur out his face using the mosaic effect. Now I can apply that mosaic effect directly to the footage, or just like in Premiere, I can create an adjustment layer. And I'm going to say Layer, New, Adjustment Layer. And so what an adjustment layer is it allows us to apply effects above the footage and not directly to the footage. And so we can control it a little bit better. And so that's what we're going to do. So here is my adjustment layer, and then I'm going to apply or look for an effect. I'm going to go to my effects presets, and I'm going to look for mosaic, M-O-S-A-I, and there it is. I want this mosaic under stylize. You can double click it or drag it down onto your adjustment layer, and there it is. And I'm going to go ahead and increase the horizontal blocks to like 25 by, all right, and so for the moment, I'm going to turn off the eye on the adjustment layer so I can see his face a little better. So I want to draw a mask. So I'm going to use the pen tool, and I'm going to go ahead and check Roto Bezier. And so what that does is it just automatically creates Bezier curves. So it's a little easier to get rounded shapes. All right, and connect that there, and then you can adjust those. And we don't have to be too perfect. In some cases, let's say you're changing someone's skin color or tracking their eyes or something, then you want to be more specific. But in this case, just the general area of his head. Okay, so with that mask selected, you can see here, if I turn back on the layer, then just his face is blurred out with that mask. But now we need to track it. So to do that, I am going to open up this layer, and I have a mask. I want the mask 1 here, to be tracked. So I'm going to right-click on that and say Track Mask. Then my tracker panel should open up. And I'm just going to go ahead and hit play. And what's going to happen is that mask is going to track based on the pixels and their contrast. So it's kind of have a pretty good idea of where his head is. But now here, you'll notice, as this is a trucking shot, the perspective of his face is changing. So I'm going to go and have to modify this a little bit as we go. So I just hit the play button to pause, and then I can hit play again, and it'll continue to track. And then you can see there's a little drift here. I go ahead and adjust that. Play again, and another adjustment. Now, you can keyframe this the whole way, if you like, and make all the adjustments manually. The tracker is really just sort of saving you time. All right, great. And there we have it. And so I'll go ahead now and turn that back on so I can see it. And if we play that footage through, you can see this person here is masked out, so we don't know their identity. Go ahead and now let's do a single point track. So we're going to create a new composition, and we'll call it single point track. And we're going to go to our project panel, and for this one we're going to use the parasailing. I think that's what this is what's called. Like once again, right click, transform, fit to comp. All right. So for this one, we are going to add a tracker to this little point right here. So once again, we're going to look in our tracker menu over here, and we're going to select track motion. And when that happens, we get a little track point. So I'm going to zoom in a little so I can see this a little better. And I'm going to click and drag. Try not to click the middle or the outside edges of this, because that'll happen. I'm going to click here in this area here. Just click and drag, and then I'm going to use my space bar and click and drag and move my space bar to the left. I'm trying to move this tracking point to this little parasailer here. All right, so now what I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and move these two squares. I'm going to make this one bigger, and this one is the important one. What this center box is going to do is it's going to track contrasting pixels, much in the same way that the mask track did. So everything that's in here that has extremely contrasting pixels, this will track. Here's our center point, and then this outer one is going to look at the other pixels that surround it to get a better track. All right, so the next thing that we need to do in this case for a single track is what I want to do is add some typography that's going to move with the parasailing person here. So I need to create a null object. The null object is what's going to get tracked, and then whatever else I want to add to that null object, I can parent. So let's go ahead and do that. Layer, new, null object. Okay, null 1, that's great. Now over here in my tracking menu, I've got a tracker 1, and it's just position is all I want to track. I want to edit the target. The target is going to be the null object. And it doesn't have to be, it can be another object, but null objects are so great because you can parent many things to them and you can't see them. All right, so now we're just going to do the same thing. I'm going to zoom out a little, and I'm actually only going to track up for about 2-3 seconds. So again, this is just for this tutorial. We don't want to be here all day because it can take a long time to track. So I'm just going to Alt bracket, and we're going to end this bit right there at about 3 seconds. So I'll move back to 0, and I'm going to go ahead and hit play. All right, and so this can take a few minutes, depending on how fast your computer is. Great, and there it is, and there's our tracking. And if it looks good, we can scrub a little bit here. It's a little bumpy, but it looks pretty good. We can go ahead then and hit apply. And then what it'll do, it'll ask us, we want to do the X and Y dimensions. And now you can see on our composition layer, the null object is now tracked. Great, and so now we can add things, like for instance, maybe this is 007 and some sort of spy software has just caught him. And I'm going to just draw a little circle around him. I don't want it to have a fill, so I'll get rid of that. And I want it to have a 1-stroke white. So that looks pretty good. All right, and then maybe I even have like a little line. Nope. Oh, and in this case, I don't want the Roto Bezier. So I'm going to click on my pen tool and uncheck that. I'm going to come over here and put a little line like so. And then I'm going to type in 007. And so now I can close all this up and simply parent the shape to the null and the text 007 to the null. And then we can play that through. Cool, that is a single point tracker. All right, let's move on. So let's create another composition. We're going to call this a 4-point tracker. And for this, we're going to use the laptop. Drag that on. Once again, it's too large for our composition, so we're going to right-click, transform, fit to comp. Okay, and so for this one, I'm going to move the CTI up a little bit because I want to be able to see the whole computer. Don't have to, but just to make this exercise a little easier, we'll start right about there, where I can just see the top of it. And then I'm going to Alt bracket that and trim it. Go ahead and move that down. And again, we don't want this to be too long, so let's trim it at 2 seconds so we don't have to track too much. You can track as much as you like, but for this exercise, I'm just going to keep it simple. All right, so 2 seconds. For this one, we're going to go back to our tracking menu, or tracker, and we are going to, once again, just like a 1-point track, we're going to track motion, but we're going to change it from transform down to perspective corner pin. And then instead of 1 tracker point, we get 4. And it's a little hard to get a hold of these, but we're going to go ahead and drag them, and we'll use the space bar. Press the space bar to maneuver around. I'm going to put that little point right in the corner. Come back, get this one. Right down to the corner, like so. And again, I hit the space bar to turn any controller into the hand, so I can easily. Alright, we get both those in their positions like so, and I can zoom out. Alright, and I want to put some footage on this computer screen here, so I'm going to go ahead and use the phone's footage. Just going to go ahead and drag it on here. Pardon me, we can't be on this layer, we've got to go back to our composition. And I'm going to drag the phones right onto here and zoom out a little because I want them to be smaller. I'm going to hold the shift key down to constrain the proportions and get them to roughly fit onto the computer screen there, like so. And then I'm going to turn off phones so we don't have to see them right away, so we can go back here and track. Notice I've got 2 tabs. Here's the tab that we're adding the tracking to. Alright, so with that tab selected, and then I want to select the laptop, which has the trackers. I'm going to edit the target, just like we did with the null, but in this case, the target is the phone's footage. Alright, and go ahead then and hit play. Let that play for 2 seconds, and you can see the tracking points are following the corners. Alright, we're just going to go to 2 seconds. Right. Okay, and then we just simply hit apply. And nothing's happened because I have the phones layer turned off. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it on, and there they are. And let me trim that. Right, so we're only at 2 seconds, and then we can watch that footage. There. So we've just added a video to a blank computer screen while the camera dollies backwards. All right, really cool. That's 4-point tracker. Okay, the last one, and then probably the most amazing, is a camera tracker. So for this, we're going to go to Composition, New Composition, and call it Camera Tracker. Great. And for this, we are going to use the alleyway footage, or just alley. And now that is 1920 by 1080 already. So with this footage, we're going to select it, and we're going to go and say Track Camera. Now this can take a few minutes. It usually gives you a little countdown here on how long it's going to take. One of the things actually, pardon me, I'm going to cancel this. Let's trim this again. Let's not do the whole video. Okay, so let's start at about 2 seconds. All right, we're going to slide that back to there, and let's end it at 3 seconds. Okay, so a little less footage then. You don't have to wait as long. All right, so we're going to go ahead and analyze once again. So let's try analyze. Okay, this will take a few minutes. There you can see you've got a little percentage in how many frames. So 90 frames, and we're up to 33 frames. And it looks like, yeah, they're slowing down in the middle, but almost there. So the fewer frames, the shorter time it'll take. Okay, it's going to solve the camera. All right, great, and these are our track points. So you can make them bigger. It says here's track point size. You can go ahead and make them bigger if you want to see them better. But what you want to do then is simply find the track point that fits the perspective of your footage. And so that one fits really good for there. This one looks good right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and right click that one. And on this side, I'm going to create some text. So it gives me a little text box, which I can then just type into. And I'll say, I'm going to type the word danger. All right, now I want to manipulate that box a little bit, so it's not really in just the right position. So I can open up danger here and transform. And so we can try to transform the position up or down. I want to move it down a little bit, let's say like right there. And then you want to do the X and Y rotation, so to really get it to fit with the perspective of that a little better. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Maybe I'll take the size down a little. Yeah, maybe like that. And let's make it red. Something like that. There we go. All right. And there you can see that text is going to move with the footage. All right, now there's other things that we can do here too. If I go back to my tracker camera, or tracker footage, I should say. All right, we want to bring up those tracker points again. Okay, we're going to go back to our composition where we can see the track points. So over here, I am going to put something on this side, right about there. All right, I'm going to right click, and this time I'm going to say create a solid. Okay, and there's a solid shape. It's kind of crooked, so again, we're going to have to go in here and open up this track solid here, and we're going to just transform it a little bit here, try the position, move it up, and we're going to rotate. Okay, and now what I want to do is I want to put like a video on there. So I can come back to my project panel, and let's grab the people again. Let's grab the phones and bring them down here, just below the track solid. And let's make them a little smaller. And now we're just going to simply, with the phone selected, we're going to go ahead and go to Layer and Track Matte and Alpha Matte. And so now there they are. Now we'll have to change their perspective to fit that as well. And then that's easy to do. We just simply make the phones 3D and open it up. And we're going to transform the rotation here, like so, to match. And maybe we'll scale a little bit down. All right, that looks pretty close. All right, and then let's go ahead and trim that footage to 3 seconds. And trim that down, and let's play that through. All right, so there is the camera tracker, and it works splendidly. It all depends on the footage, of course. What I would like you to do for this tutorial then is go ahead and make one final comp. You're going to go composition, new comp, call it main comp. All right, and then you're just going to bring these other comps into your main comp. And so start with your track mask right there, and then let's just play that for 2 seconds. And then let's go to your single track point, bring that on. Okay, and then we can go ahead and slide that up to right there. Right, again, just a couple of seconds is fine. Alt, trim. And let's get the 4-point tracker next. Right here. And do the same thing. We're going to go ahead and move that to right there. And about 2 seconds and trim. And lastly, our awesome camera tracker. Bring that right on. And same thing, slide it up. 2 seconds for a total of 8 seconds. Trim. And I've got a 10-second video here, but that's only 8 seconds. So you can just go to your comp settings, and we're going to make this 8 seconds. There we are. And then this is what you'll export. So it'll just be one movie that will have each of these trackers. All right, excellent. Good luck with that. See you next time.